goals, dreams and goals, dreams and goals. Get
Everybody, you can give a welcome to Kevin Holland.
So nice.
And I must say, it looks like a rooster club.
Yeah, you know how I do.
So guys, we'll have we'll talk to Kevin a little bit, and then we will do a Q&A if anybody has any questions. And then afterwards, if you want to get photos, if you have anything you want to get signed, sign it. Kevin has one rule: just touch him on his lower back. No, don't touch him on his lower back. That's just one rule.
This guy.
Yeah. So I'm excited about the fit, Kevin. Thank you for joining us. So talk about, you actually have a pretty big fight coming up, man. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. So we're fighting Chris Curtis coming up. Little Curtis Blades, that's what we like to call him without the stutter. The guy's a pretty good fighter. He throws pretty good hands, gets a lot of knockouts in the UFC. I used to train with him back in the day. I think it goes a lot like the training sessions. You ask the guy about the dragon sweep and he'll tell you. Used to get him with it all the time, so I think it'd be a blast.
You're originally from California, moved here to Fort Worth at a young age, started fighting, came up and up-and-coming circuit, IKO, right?
XKO, yeah.
Or XKO. IKO is the roofing, I'm talking roofer bro shingles. IKO is the brand of shingles. XKO, man, talk about the journey for you from going to a local kid, fighting in a local circuit. Obviously, you know, those guys don't get paid much, right? A lot of times it's nothing, your money is your sponsorship. From that to becoming a UFC superstar, who, by the way, the most active fighter on the roster by a landslide. What was that journey like for you? What was the hard part, and how did you get to this point?
The hard part was definitely starting off. So you start off fights, you know, it's like you're fighting as an amateur, you're not making any money at all. And then you go pro and you're like, yeah, I'm about to get a big check. And they're like 2-1. You're like, what's 2-1? It's 200 to show, another 100 to win. You're like, fuck, that's not a lot of money to fight, right? So now times are a lot different, so I'm definitely grateful for that. But even back then I had the mindset, I knew I had to fight 2 times in a month to even be able to pay the bills and stuff. So I always knew, you just fight a lot. The more you fight, the more you get paid. It's the same as you guys, the more you go to work, the more you get paid. I remember for a little while I was hurt and I was doing electrical work. And electrical work is like, if I didn't clock my 40 hours, my check was shit, you know? So I had to clock my 40 hours. So I got to the big show, it was just no different. I understood if I showed up and I fought and I won, they'd give me another fight. And if they give me another fight, I'd get another check. And if you win, you get 2 checks, you don't just get 1 check. So at this point in time, I was trying to get 4, 6, 8, 9, 10 as fast as I could, you know, because I like money. And I'm pretty sure all you guys like money too. So fight as much as possible and work as much as possible. Fight and work hand in hand.
There was interesting, for people that don't know the journey, you came up through the Contender Series, right? Came up in the Contender Series, and he talked the entire fight.
Yeah.
Dana didn't actually like it at first. And something happened. And so I think what's, obviously you tell the story, but I think what is parallel to our world is a lot of our world is taking risk. We're 100% commission, right? Like, we don't have the safety net of a salary, of, you know, going out there and just showing up and you get paid. You have to go out there and literally hunt. You have to fight for your food, and you don't get to eat unless you kill it. And so your journey was actually interesting because your first fight was actually a loss, right? But talk about the risk you took and how you got there to get that fight against a big person, but how that catapulted your career.
Yeah, so first fight, Thiago Santos, a guy who goes out and fights John Jones, who's absolutely by far to me the best fighter, hands down in MMA. He goes out and fights John Jones all the way to decision. This is my first fight in the UFC, you know, I'm fighting this guy. First fight at 85, he then goes up to 205. Dude's a monster. I mean, he hit me one time, it was pretty hard. I thought I was bleeding. I checked my face, no blood. I asked him, like, why you hit me so hard? I get home later that night, doc had stitched me up here, stitched me up there. I still got blood dripping everywhere. And I'm like, where's the blood coming from? You know, and I'm all thankful because it took my whole life to grow this little thing right here. And, you know, sure enough, he nipped it real good. And it turns out I had a little cut right up inside here. So I'm wondering why I got this new fresh white t-shirt on and it's blood on that shirt. So I switch it out, put a UFC shirt on, blood on that shirt. I wanted to save that shirt and take that shirt home. My first UFC fight, right? Take home good sakes. No, Thiago Santos, that was a rough fight to get in the UFC. But the fact that I talked the whole freaking fight simply won me over a lot of fans. I remember it was Star-Lord from Guardian of the Galaxies. I don't know his actual name, but yeah, that guy, right? Star-Lord was amazed by the fact that I was able to get my ass kicked and talk the whole time. So me and Star-Lord had a little conversation in the back, and I thought that was real cool to go home and tell the son that I was talking to Star-Lord. And, you know, to each his own. Sure enough, you know, Big Mouth was born. A guy who would talk while getting his ass whooped. It was just like any other superhero movie I watched.
Where did the nickname come from? Did you have that before, or was that from Dana?
No, so before Big Mouth, I was Trailblazer, which I really enjoyed a lot. You know, it's like a simple trails and maze. Yeah, it worked out real good.
Yeah.
No, Dana liked the way. Well, he didn't like the way I talked, so he called me Big Mouth. You know, and it worked out pretty well because when I was a kid, my grandpa used to call me Jabba Jaws, and I don't know if you guys know what Jabba Jaws is, but yeah, it works out.
And I think, too, what's important about that is you took a ranked guy that just fought John Jones on a decision.
Yeah.
You had just lost on the Contender Series?
Yeah. No, I won on the Contender Series, but I just talked to him much. He didn't like me.
Dana didn't like him. So imagine your boss, your owner who signs your check, doesn't like you because you talk too much, right? And then you go out there and the opponent pulls out. It's a ranked guy who just fought the GOAT John Jones in his prime and lost on a decision, and you don't have a fighter, and he says, let's call Big Mouth and see if he's up for it. And then you take the fight and lose, but you still took the risk, and it catapulted your career because you were the guy that took the risk when nobody else would. You were the guy that stepped up to the plate when no one else did, and we see that time and time again. What is your actual time between fights? It's the fastest in UFC history, but what's the year you fought the most, and how many days in between those fights is your UFC record?
Yeah, so in 2020 I fought 5 times in 2020 for the UFC. Won every single fight. It was a fantastic year. It was a good year. Some good money that year. But the thing about it was we didn't have a long 2020. Any of you guys remember 2020? The pandemic was going on. Things were shut down. Couldn't do anything. My month was supposed to start in March. It was supposed to be my first fight of the year. Road got shut down in March. So I'm sitting at home wondering what I was gonna do. Sure enough, Dana got things back rolling out in Florida, and they had Abu Dhabi. I was not going to Abu Dhabi, too fucking hot for me. Texas is hot enough. So, you know, they sent me to Florida. We get our first fight, it was good. I was supposed to fight again, you know, right when they got back. I hurt my shoulder, so that actually slowed me down a little bit. But within 7 months, I was able to get 5 fights. It usually takes guys 2 or 3 years to get 5 fights. I was able to get 5 fights in 7 months. The only other guys that hold that record are Neil Magny and then I actually think it's a female. I think it's Angela Overkill Hill. So I think we're the only ones that hold that record. And the thing about it is it took them 12 months. It took me 7 months. I think if I'd had 12, I think I would have got at least 8. You know, so yeah. Shout out to me. Fuck those guys.
My favorite knockout of you is Buckley, your little brother. Or your son. That's your son. That's your son. You have a little brother. Neil Magny's the wish list, and you have your son. What did you tell him? We saw it up there. That was the one you laid him out. What were you telling him right before you knocked him out, which to me is hilarious?
Well, he had a booger on his nose, and I needed him to wipe that before I could punch him, because I didn't want to get the booger on my glove. So he wiped that booger and, you know, knocked his teeth loose, and he laid down. And I think he was wondering what happened, but sure enough, I don't think he was wondering. He was probably just looking at that booger on his hand. Didn't want to get up. It's an embarrassing situation to have a booger on your face on national TV. I try not to let it happen.
And you might be the only guy that's actually knocked out someone from being on the bottom. You knocked out Souza. You were down and you were talking to him.
Yeah.
What were you saying to him? Because you hit him with a hammer fist from the bottom and literally KO'd him.
Yeah, so Souza was a scary guy to fight, right? Because he had this big alligator thing that he would do. And I strategically looked the opposite way while he was doing it and talked to my coaches about, you know, gentlemen's clubs. And it was a good tactic at the time. I turned around, Jacare Sosa sitting there. Jacare hit me while I was on the ground, and it gave me a flashback because we used to watch Jacare Sosa fight on Strikeforce back in the day with my grandfather. And I was like, damn, bro, I had a dream about you. The dream did not go as the fight went, which was really, really good. Because I beat the shit out of him in the fight. In the dream, he beat the shit out of me. So it all worked out swell. When I told him I had a dream about it, I think he was a little distracted. He was like, what the fuck is this guy saying? He doesn't speak the best English in the world, so we were trying to figure it out. And I hit him with a good one. Cold clocked him pretty good. Next thing you know, I'm on top of him, beating the crap out of him, walking off. That was a good day. I got a bonus for that too, $50,000. I love bonuses.
50 G's, baby. What is, so you fought, was it Ponzinibbio?
Yeah.
And Trump was there. And you jumped over the cage and you had a small interaction with him. But you didn't really get to have the interaction you want. Your last fight, when you broke, did you break his arm? The last fight, was it broke? Did it pop out?
I'm no doctor, I just think it was hyperextended.
And it was a little bit.
It just looked a little funky. It's probably double jointed.
Well, it looked like it. You got a chance to jump over and have a conversation with Trump. What did you guys talk about?
Well,
What did you say to him? Because
You guys want to know the truth, or you guys want to know the political?
the truth.
I was like, "What's up, my nigga?" He was like, "My nigga." It's just as simple as that, you know. Trump's a cool guy. I don't know why people get misconceptions. I just, you know, he's, it's like, you know, I'm not saying we went in the back and smoked a blunt or anything, but we might have had 2 beers.
There you go. What are you going to say to him now after your next one? We got, what is it, October 6th?
October 5th, yeah.
October 5th in Salt Lake?
Yeah. I'm gonna ask him, why the fuck are we in altitude? That's what I'm gonna ask him. You know, it's nobody likes fighting in altitude, especially if you're over 200 pounds.
What else is what is next for Kevin? Obviously the fighting, but you're doing a lot of stuff outside of it. So the people that don't know, what other things are you doing outside of fighting?
So we got a lot of little things that we do outside of fighting. Mom runs a janitor business and stuff like that, but you know, that's all for them. I actually really enjoy the nonprofit. The nonprofit's something I really enjoy doing. Dustin actually helps out a lot with that. So shout out to all you guys, because you guys are a part of that. So just keep knocking down doors with that. The nonprofit and a shitload of hunting. You know me, I love to hunt. But the nonprofit's really important. I'd give you guys details, but I don't even fucking have details. I just kind of show up one day and just go. It's always off the dome. I'm sitting on the can, I think of a good idea, and I usually call Dustin while I'm on the can. And he's like, "What are you doing, buddy?" "Oh, I'm playing video games." I'm shitting right in the background. But Dustin's a good guy. He accepts it.
I do. When he FaceTimes me, it's a little awkward, but we're here.
He makes eye contact the whole time.
I do. I don't break it. It's like, if you're going to make it uncomfortable, let's make it uncomfortable. Let's see who moves first. After the Curtis.
Yeah.
What is next? So you moved from 170 to 185. So you went from 185 to 170. You're back to 185.
Yeah.
What's the goal? I know you joke about not wanting to win a belt, but what's the ultimate goal for you with fighting? You want to make the money, but is there anything else you want to accomplish when it comes to your fighting career?
No, not really. No, not really. I just want to beat people up, to be honest with you guys. That's how I get paid. You know, it's like, if you get a belt, you do get way more money. I mean, like, extensively a lot more money. It's like you get a shit ton more money, but you also get to fight less, right? And so I don't want to fight less. But if I did have to have like one game plan to stick with, right? And it was like, oh yeah, you can go out with a pretty good legacy. It would be to beat up Chris Curtis, even though him and Strickland aren't friends anymore. I'm pretty sure it would still piss Strickland off, because they used to be butt buddies. So beat up Chris Curtis. I'd go back, beat up Weinman. He's a legend. Knocked out Silva. I heard a few guys I know's feelings. Circle back, beat up another bum, because you get a lot of money off winning fights. And then I would try and fight Strickland, which I would hope be for a BMF belt, because he's holding off for the title, and I think Chimaev's going to pass him up. So idealistically, it'd be win 3 fights, beat Strickland on the 4th fight, get a BMF title, and I'd be happy. If I could back and forth fights, I'd fight Chris Curtis, I'd fight Neil Magny. Those are 2 easy fights. Then I'd backdoor and fight Chris Wyman. That's 3 easy fights. Then I'd have just enough clout to fight Sean Strickland without having to take any tough fights in the process. And it'd be a picture perfect road. So basically what I'm telling you guys is, go for the easy contacts. Go for the easy clients and always make their money.
Life lessons. Go for the easy doors, guys. I think this story is, I want to see a Sean Strickland, Kevin Holland, just press conference. I don't even care about the fight. Yeah. I want to see the press conference. I know that you can't stand Sean Strickland, and the feeling is mutual. Yeah. I literally, when you're in his gym, his coach is like, if Sean comes in, please keep Kevin away. I'm like, bro, you're on your fucking own with that. I'm not getting in the middle of that guy. What is your beef with Sean Strickland? Or beef with each other?
I touched his butt one time. He tried to hit me. We kind of scuffled. We didn't get to finish it. I just really want to finish what we started. It's kind of like when you take a girl out for a date, you know what I mean? You get the 2 dates and you want to go on the 3rd, and she stands you up because you're never going to get to that base. It's kind of that for me when it comes to fighting. You know, I want to hit a home run. That's all it is.
You hear it, Sean Strickland. Let's get him. All right. Does anybody have any questions? Q&A. We can get a few questions. Greg.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier in the video you just want to assassinate the person in front of you. So yeah. What I'm curious about is, like, what space do you get in before a fight? Like, when you're getting ready in the ring, the bell goes. Like, what is the mental space that you get in order to assassinate the person in front of you?
It's like little things. And it's like I always have interactions with a guy during the week, and it's like I can find the littlest things to piss me off. Like one time I held the door open for a guy and he didn't say thank you. It was enough for me to want to kill him. You know, and just one of those times I held the door at the gas station and nobody said thank you, and I was like, fuck this guy. It doesn't take much to flip me off, you know. And it's like the little things count. You can look like that guy I was driving to next to on the freeway, and I could be like, yeah, I'm gonna fuck this guy up tonight. It's just the little things. If I can never find the motivation, that's usually why I have 11 losses. But usually I find the motivation. Yeah. Doesn't take much. It's just money. Money always does it. I probably hurt my grandma for a good check.
He's telling the truth. Question?
So, I mean, money's a big motivation for you, but when you're done fighting and all this is said and done, what's the money for? Do you have that?
Yeah, for sure. It's just to buy a bunch of land to hunt on. No, 100% honesty. 100% honesty. Like, it's like, I want the kids to have an easier life, right? I want the kids to be able to do the things that I wasn't able to do, you know, and just make things not as much of a struggle. So ultimately, the goal is just to, it's, you know, the money is to stretch, you know, it's to stretch the money. That's like the ultimate goal. It's like when I'm done making money and I'm able to sit down and relax, it's gonna be a shit ton of vacations with the family, you know, and it's like, but we kind of already do that. So at the end of the day, it's just really just the money, bro. I don't look past it, and it's like I don't look around it. I don't look at too much others. I spend a lot of time with the kids and the family, but at the end of the day, that still takes money. It's like I don't like my mom to go to work. I like her to sit at home with the grandkids and chill. You know, it's like I like my little brother to be able to do what he wants to do. You know, if he wants to cut hair, I want him to be able to cut hair. I don't want him to have to go and work a hard job. You know, it's like I still make him, you know, work the trash company and work the dumpster bins and stuff like that, so he understands. But I guess the ultimate goal is just for everybody to live comfortably, you know, in my circle, just live real comfortable. And it's like I didn't always have that, so to be able to give that to them, I think that's very important.
And a funny story, I've never heard Kevin nervous for a fight, ever. He's like laughing, takes naps in the back. It's like really strange, like just loves the fight. And the other day, first time I heard nervous in his voice when he was talking about his son riding a horse in a rodeo for the first time. He was like, I didn't know what to do. He was nervous. So he does, look, you see behind the scenes, he does a lot for his family, and he puts his family in positions and his kids in positions to live a life that maybe he wasn't able to, right? And it's really cool to see that. It's really cool to see someone that literally, we talk about, we go out there and fight for a living, we fight for this. That's literally what he does. He fights for a living and puts his body and himself in jeopardy to provide for his family. And it's really cool to see that behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah. Shit gets rough. Like, who remembers, like, I graduated 2011, so what year did I go to high school?
Come on, you just said you graduated 2011. That's it.
So what year did I start high school?
Oh, 2007?
Good at math. One of you guys are good at math. 2007,
like,
right?
What? Yeah.
So it was like a recession or something like that, like a little bit before that, right? My grandma and grandpa. It was bad, right? Yeah, right? So my grandma and grandpa owned a business. They owned a janitor business, right? Growing up, we had really, really good money. We lived in California. We lived in Fontana, California, and the house we lived in was fantastic. They decided to sell the house right before that happened, right? So made a decent amount of money. From 1 week to the next, the price of the houses just fucking completely changed. So they took a hit getting another house. I remember having $20 allowances, extra $40 throughout the week. I remember grandma getting me whatever I want. I remember pops never struggling for anything. I remember having so much stuff. I remember from one day to the next, not having shit. You know what I mean? I had custom bedroom sets. I had all the clothes I could think of. I was a spoiled kid. I had everything, as long as I was at grandma and grandpa's house. And then from one day to the next, it's like, they didn't have it, you know? And so it's like, you ask me what it's for, and it's like, it's so that way when stuff like that happens, I don't have to feel it. You know what I mean? It's like in 2020, it was a flashback. You know, sitting at the house, don't have anything, wondering what I'm gonna do next. I never want to experience that again. And I don't want my kids to experience that. You know, my son shouldn't worry about if I'm gonna buy him something, if that's gonna affect our rent, or if it's gonna affect this or affect that. I've experienced that. You know, it's like you don't want your kids to experience that. And that's why I fight 5 times a year. That's why I fight 6 times a year. That's why when they go, hey Kev, you probably need surgery on this. Nah, fuck surgery, we'll have that later. I'm gonna keep showing up to work, you know, and that's the reason why. You know, it's like, when you say money, it's like, that's the ultimate motivation. Because when that shit stops, a lot of things stop. A lot of things stop, you know? You can still have fun with the family, just a lot harder. My bad, Dustin.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, if you could kind of speak on delayed gratification. I got 2 young sons, you know, and everybody wants everything instantly. athlete, you got to work down to be successful next year, the year after.
Yeah.
How do you communicate that to your crew and people around you that I'm doing stuff now to be good in 2, 3, 4, 5 years?
You know, it's something that's very hard to explain. It's really an experience thing. So with my Uncle Pat, I love Uncle Pat to death because he understands. He remembers the hard days. You know, he remembers when I was going to the gym, not making no money. He remembers when I didn't have a ride to get home from the gym or to the gym, so I had to walk, 10 miles to get back from one side of the city to the other side of the city. You know, he remembers when I sat up there all night thinking I was going to get a ride and didn't get a ride, so I had to steal a bike to get home. He remembers those days. A lot of people don't. A lot of people don't know that those days were there. So the thing about it is, it's like you try and teach those things. It's really, really hard to do. It's like you just gotta let them struggle a little bit. It's like as far as the sports aspect goes, you gotta make them grind. When they think they want to sit at home, you gotta be that asshole and push them. If they quit, hey, at least you stop them before they start hurting themselves. It's like, and that's the thing about it. Sports are rough, and sports are really rough. But if you don't make it in sports, day-to-day life, rough as fuck too. So it's like time is the only thing I can do. It's like I got people at the gym I think are really, really freaking good. I'd love to give those kids $20,000 and tell them sit at home and don't do nothing else. Just focus on fighting. Fuck that, they won't make it if I give them that 20 grand. You know what I mean? Some people gotta grind a little bit. So when it comes to sports, you gotta grind a little bit. Just take your time and grind. And you can reward them a little bit on the way, not a lot. Just a whole lot of grinding.
How old are you now, Kev?
31.
31, and you got into the UFC in 2020?
18.
2018.
End of it. I got to the UFC the end of 2018, and I tell you that shit don't count because they didn't pay you shit in 2018. It was bad. You get 10 grand for a fight, and then they wouldn't fight you again for like 4 or 5 months. You know what I mean? So it's like 10 grand to last you 4 or 5 months. It's pretty rough. Then I fought in China, and you had to pay your taxes in China before you can come back. So. Yeah, that was rough. I felt like I was balling though. I ain't gonna lie to you. I was like, well, I ain't never seen a check like this. I was like, ooh-wee.
When did you start fighting?
So I had my first pro fight at 18. At 18. No, I had my first pro fight actually at 20. Because I remember telling my coach, I'm gonna go to the strip club after this, and he was like, you're not old enough. So yeah, that was always the motivation. Have fun with the coaches. And then when I was old enough to have fun with the coaches, they were like, I'm too old to go. What the fuck? So yeah, sorry, but it's just the truth.
Any other questions? What's your favorite strip club?
It's in Houston.
There you go.
All of them.
Anyone? A question?
So, your history though, like what got you into fighting? Like what was your inspiration or who was your mentor to get you into fighting? I know you did fights at 18, but what led you to that point?
So I was a sophomore in high school, and I accidentally, and I'm sticking to that, I'm never gonna change it. I accidentally headbutt the security guard, right? I know, how do you accidentally headbutt the security guard? Shit happens. So I got kicked out of high school, and the school I went to was a continuation school. It was for all these bad kids, and there was this dude there named Mark Kennedy. He was the teacher. He was the teacher of all these bad kids. And it was just one teacher of all these bad kids. He was a really good teacher, and his PE program was actually a kung fu program. And I was like, yeah, I could beat these guys up and get extra credits. So I figured I'd go up there. I went up there, and I beat up the students, but this old guy, I mean, he whacked me up pretty good. He's like, he did me pretty bad. And the next thing you know, it's like I wanted to train underneath him. And one night I was up in the middle of the night watching TV, and WEC was on, and Uriah Faber, the California kid, was fighting, and he broke both his hands in the fight. He broke a thumb on one hand, and he broke some fingers on the other hand, and he kept fighting with his elbows. And I was like, dude, that's pretty sick. Next thing you know, I ordered UFC 99 because my instructor, Kennedy, had showed me a video of Lyoto Machida beating up Rashad Evans, and he was like, if you're gonna do that fake fighting, you need to move like this. I ordered UFC 99. My dad's family, it was the first time hanging out with them. They reached out to me. I went to Philadelphia, watched UFC 100 live. No, I watched UFC 100 on TV. I ordered with my own money. I went to UFC 101 live, and after that, I was just like, I'm gonna do this. There's no way around it. I moved to Texas at 18, and Travis Luter was like, yeah, if you want to do it, man, you have to do jiu-jitsu. And so next thing you know, I was doing jiu-jitsu, and I looked up, and this is where I am. It's like, I I don't know how nothing really big happened. Kennedy whooped my ass, and then TV popped up in the middle of the night, and they were
Do you
fighting.
ever keep in contact with the coach from the?
I did for a lot of years, but Kennedy was a real mean guy when I was going to school with him. And then I took my kid there. You know, I had a kid. I was gone for 4 years. I came back. I had a kid, and so we had an agreement. I needed to go learn martial arts somewhere else. I needed to explore. I came back 4 years later, and he was really, really nice to my kid. And after that, it was like we just slowly stopped talking. And it's like I had an image of him of being this real mean, stern, firm guy. And I came back with a baby, and he was just this real nice, mushy-gushy guy. And I was like, what the fuck is this? And so, yeah, shortly after that, we just kind of never talked again. I don't really know if he ever really liked me. I think he liked beating me up and whooping me in chess. So, yeah, it was just one of those weird things. And took his martial arts and ran with it. No problem.
We got any more?
What strategies do you use to like overcome self-doubt sometimes when you're not having the best days?
10-point blocking system. So still using Kennedy's stuff. They taught me this system called the 10-point blocking system. So it's like a breathing technique. You actually only move your feet one time, 2 times. One time to step out, one time to step in. It's a bunch of breathing. It's kind of like, in a sense, you would say it's like a type of yoga or something like that. And then you come back up a stance, breathe it out. I do that like 3 or 4 times. It doesn't matter what situation I'm in, I'm calm. The only problem with it is it takes a few seconds to do, but the slower you do it, the more you take your time to do it proper, it usually relieves a lot of stress. It really works really good, actually. Helps you pop your back and everything. It's good shit.
Will you show us?
You want to see it? You dead ass? You gotta see it? And then I'll do it. All right. I got these tight pants on, so don't make fun of me, okay?
Roofer bro gear.
All right. 10-point blocking system. Let me take this hat off too. I can do it with the hat on, I think. If I hit it, don't make fun of me, all right?
So if you've ever been in public and you see him do that shit, get out of the way, because he's pissed off. Get the fuck out of the way.
It's usually in the restroom. You hear that heavy breathing. You know, I'm not shitting. I'm coming out to fuck shit up. That's bad.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I got one more. So,
You've already asked one. Okay, you overachiever.
But this is a good one though. So you guys are good friends. So how often have you two spar? And when you spar, Kevin, who's going into sparring?
First of all, I ran my mouth one time and he made me put the pads on.
Yeah, let's do that again.
No. And I learned my lesson that there's a lot of people that when you watch TV, you say, I could take that dude. You can't, okay? And I promise you, because I took about, 4 knees? Maybe 3, and I was fucking done. And then he wouldn't let me go because he had me in a Muay Thai clinch, and he hit me about 3 or 4 more times, and I was done. And it hurt. And so there's without a doubt, I'm not Shay, where's Shay? There he is. Remember when Shay said, I do Taekwondo? And you go, what the fuck's that mean?
Yeah, he does take my dough.
Hey bro, there's no comparison, and I don't want any part of it. 0, right? So if you think you can, Kevin has his private gym. He'll let anyone come up there, wrestle, grapple, put gloves on. You can. I would not recommend it. I wouldn't recommend that either. I'm just telling you. Say whatever you want. There's a reason that people are professionals. It's the best of the best, and you will get your ass kicked, and it will not feel good. So
Only on Saturdays.
Only on Saturdays?
Only on Saturdays.
Any other questions? We got one more. Come on.
So when you're done, when you're retired, what do you want people to remember you by or say about Kevin Holland?
That's a good question. I know this probably sounds kind of ignorant to say. I want them to know I stood on business at all times. You know what I mean? It's like whatever the case was, I stood on it. You know what I mean? It's like they called me, I always said yeah. If they ever said I said no, they're a bald-faced fucking lie. You know what I mean? I always stood on business as far as the thing went. It's like that's what I want the mixed martial arts community to remember. That guy stood on business. You know, it's like so when it's all over and done with, I made the good money, I fought the good fights, some wins, some losses, don't freaking matter. I stood on business at all times.
And I can tell you a funny story. We were in San Antonio. I know some of you guys were there, and there was a UFC card. Kevin wasn't on the card. He was nowhere on the card, and he had a fight coming up in 2-3 weeks. It was about 3 weeks when he was fighting. That was the Chiesta fight.
Yeah.
And he was at 3 weeks, and a guy in the 170 fell off, and he couldn't do it at the weigh-ins, and Kevin was just hitting mitts in the back, getting his work in, and he heard that a guy fell off, and he said, hey, let me get on the card. And the guy started laughing. Mind you, there's no cameras, there was no one around, there was no fans, it was literally him, 2 coaches, and a manager. And he said, let me get on it, just call them. And they're like, Kev, you're not there. He goes, I can fucking make it. He goes, isn't there, I got still 2 hours, I can make it, just let me get on the card. And they're like, you're fighting in 3 weeks. He goes, well, let me fight today, I'll whoop his ass, and then I'll fight in 3 weeks. And there was no cameras around, and that was like really the first time I was like, wow, man, like he does stand on business. Like he does, you see these things on cameras, and you see a lot of these guys. You see a lot of these guys like say stuff when the camera's on, and then when their cameras aren't off, you know, they're not. I remember the Jorge Masvidal, you know, the Jorge Masvidal thing, it blew up, and they had security everywhere, and Kevin's like, hey, go out the back door, there's nobody back there. And I'm like, holy shit, dude, this guy's really about his business. Like, this is not a game to him. This is what he does. And so you see that kind of thing, and you see, you know, some of these guys, they put on the show for the camera, and that when the lights go off, they're like, oh no, man, it's just for the cameras. And I was like, I've seen him when nobody was around, there's no cameras, nobody knows the story. He's like, let me get on the card, I'll beat this dude up, and then fight in 3 more weeks. And it's not that he didn't have a big fight in 3 weeks. He was fighting another ranked guy. It was a huge ranked guy. He was the 3rd fight on the card, the third down, so it was only the main event, the co-main, and then him. So it was a big card. It could go wrong, and he was trying to fight on the San Antonio card just to go on. He's like, he was dead serious. He's like, I can make the weight right now. I got 3 hours. Let's do a catch weight at 175. I'm on it. It'll work. And I was just like, dude, this guy's fucking crazy. Like, what is wrong with him? But that's what you love about him, because he does show up. And what he does is, and I use this as an example, is you typically see people that don't show up for work that show up for their family, or vice versa. When people are good at home, they're typically good at work. When people are good at work, they're good at home. And what do I mean by good at work? Like, they show up and do what they need to do no matter what. They do what they're supposed to do, when they're supposed to do it, the way they're supposed to do it. And they don't ask questions. They don't need motivation. They don't need outside motives. They just do it. And what trickles in, you see that same thing in the friendship. Like when somebody calls you when you need them, when something's going on for his family. And so, you know, a lot of the things that you see he stands on in business in the martial arts world, he stands on business for his friends and family and takes care of them. And what I watch is, I watch a lot of people try to take advantage of them. It's really hard for me to watch someone take advantage of him. I'm like, man, these guys are just taking advantage of him. And he does, and sometimes like, why do you do it, Kevin? But he does it for the people that are there, like the Pats that have been with him before he had anything. He does it for the people around him that were there before he had anything. And he doesn't worry about the ones that do it. He eliminates those people out of his life, right? So he does stand on business, not only professionally, but he does it personally as well. So, all right, one more question. Anybody got one more before we go? We get
what motivates you? Like, you're a badass fighter, you're confident as heck. What motivates you, like, to train hard and push yourself?
It's just the work. It's like my grandma was hard working, you know, and it's like, she'd be sick, she'd still go to work. You know, it's like, she worked Tuesday through Saturday. You know, it's like Saturday was a light shift, you know what I mean? But Tuesday through Saturday, she went to work. It's like, if I can't mimic that, it's like, how the hell am I even gonna be a man? You know, and so it's like, it doesn't matter what's going on. It's like, if she can show up Tuesday through Saturday, I'm a little different. I like Monday through Friday. I'll show up, you know what I mean? So it's like, don't matter. I just enjoy the work. I really enjoy the work, and it's like, and I found something that I do like to do. You know, it's like it's going to the gym. It's like, I've been knowing these guys for a really long time, so it's like, I'm just going to hang out with the bros essentially, and it's like, go to the gym. It's like it's kind of like work. You've been working here for a while. You get to know these guys. It's like you start to show up every day. It don't feel like you're going to work. It feels like you're just kind of like going to the club, hanging out with the bros. It's like every day on the block when you're riding your bikes, going to hang out with your friends and stuff. That's what it becomes. When it becomes like that, anything is possible. It's just so much smoother. And for me, that's how work is. I fought so much for the UFC. When I see the staff, it's like seeing long lost cousins. We're having a blast. As soon as I show up to the gym, it's nothing better. I can sit at home and play video games. That's pretty cool. But I can go over there and hang out with the bros. I think I'm gonna go hang out with the bros. So, yeah.
And I'll leave this, and then we'll come up and everybody can get a photo. Also, the food will be ready. We have good food too. I had the opportunity to go to a power slap and saw Dana, right? And I think this is part of, I think, Zach, you asked delayed gratification, right? And knowing Kevin for a while and kind of watched his journey come up from getting started to a superstar. And I was at power slap and I saw Dana, and someone said, hey, Dustin's friends with Kevin. And Dana he was working the room, and people were just all they wanted something from Dana. And immediately when he heard Kevin's name, his eyes lit up. And he's like, someone get Big Mouth on the phone. That's what he says when the fight. And I was like, well, I'll FaceTime him. He's like, he's not going to answer. And I FaceTime Kevin, and he's like in bed with his shirt off. He's like, what? And Dana was like, man, you should have been here. I can't wait for your next fight. And at the time, Kevin didn't even have a fight.
Didn't even have a fight.
But he was getting Kevin a fight. And as I started talking to Dana, we were just talking about the stuff, how Kevin is. And he kept saying, he goes, dude, Kevin always shows up. He's like, when I need someone, Kevin shows up. And so it was when you talk about delayed gratification, he took a major fight, his first fight that, hey, dude, was probably a no-win fight, right? It was tough, but he had the confidence to go out there. And the delayed gratification of not making the money but still showing up and putting his name in the hat, when a lot of fighters don't, because it's not the right thing, because you lose 2 or 3 times in the UFC, you get cut. If you're making $10,000 a fight and you lose 2 times, you could get cut when you're first there. But he kept putting his name in there, and then watching the transformation of now, I hope spill the beans of the Curtis fight, right? There was I think you posted it. I got a chance to talk to Kevin a few weeks ago, and they offered him 3 fights. They called him up and said, you want these 3 names, 3 pretty big names. What do you think Kevin said? Yes, yes, yes. And then what happened? After they told Dana he said yes to all of them, Dana called him and offered him a main event bigger fight, because he had said yes, right? And so you talk about delayed gratification. It's that sometimes you put in the work, man, and you're not rewarded for it. But then when you're not paid as much as you should be paid, and then something happens, man. One day you start getting paid more than the work you do, right? Because it's the same amount of work, but putting it in, and it's being when you're accountable and you're dependable to your organization, to your owner. Those are the people that you want around. As an owner, when I heard that, I'm like, man, that sounds so familiar. The people that, whether you think they're the best or not, the people that you can trust, the people that show up for you, and the people that say yes, even whether they agree with it or not, are the people you want around. Those are the people that rise to the top, because you know you can trust them, you know you can count on them, you know they're dependable, and you know no matter what, they're just gonna, ironically, not in Kevin's case, but they're gonna shut up and show up. Kevin's just gonna talk the whole time, right? But he's still gonna show up. And it is powerful to watch that even in a multi-billion-dollar organization, you see someone like Dana White, fall in love with fighters that, for the same reasons, right? The people that don't say no to fights, and then they end up getting paid more than the other guys, because when nobody else would rise to the occasion, and you do, that's how you make the big bucks, because it does build that trust. And it was just crazy to see that and just almost hear it with your own ears and watch it. I was like, holy shit. I remember I was like, dude, Dana White loves Kevin Holland. Like, that was wild. Like, all these people in the room, and he was worried about Kevin Holland, who wasn't there, and started bragging on how he always shows up for the fights and how he's accountable, and he's got a big fight coming up. I'm like, Kevin, what fight do you have? He's like, I don't have a fight. I'm like, motherfucker, you do now. I was like, Dana just said so, and it was on the board, and it was a big fight, right? And now he just got offered another main event. Ironically, the other guy said no, go figure, right? But now he's got a huge fight in Salt Lake, a city, and he's on a big run, which could lead to a title, whether it's in BMF or not. And so if you talk about delayed gratification, you could see it. You go from making $10,000 a fight to hundreds of thousands a fight, right? And the sponsorships and what it does for you to set yourself up so you can do the same things in any and everything you do. So let's give a round of applause to Kevin. We get photos, we'll get food.